Hello everyone, here is Christopher, another solo game developer. As you may already know, ChatGPT was released around more than a year ago and revolutionized the technology industry a lot. But in addition to doing that, I think many of us have seen that it made many people start to say and think that some professions are not necessary anymore, and that artificial intelligences are going to take our jobs away. Especially programmers or artistic professions, for instance, designers, writers, cartoonists, etc. Because many people can very easily start creating little things with these tools. And as a result of these tools giving us step by step what we got to do, or giving us things just to copy and paste, some of these people not only think that professionals are no longer necessary, but there are also people who want to get involved to these fields or worlds, and they think that now they no longer have to know anything about what they want to do and how to do it. Examples of these can be seen on the internet, where there are companies whose advertising images or their images on their websites are no longer made by people, but by artificial intelligence, and also there are people who do not even know the basic concepts of the programs they want to use, and intending to make projects, even trying to sell them. So, in this video you will see a comparison of a snake that I have developed and others made by ChatGPT, and thus see if in something as simple as this, ChatGPT is capable of doing a better job than mine. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is open ChatGPT and ask the chat for a simple version of the snake game. And with the code already generated, I'm going to copy and paste it into VSC, and I will proceed to execute the code. And as we can see, the gameplay of the game is complete. We can move, we can eat the fruits, and as a consequence the snake grows. We can also see that when we collide with the edge instead of dying, we teleport to the opposite side, and finally we can die when we collide with ourselves. But there is something that stands out a lot, and that is that the game flickers too much, because we are drawing everything that is on the screen over and over and over again, and this can be somewhat annoying. Well, after having seen the first version that ChatGPT gave us, I will continue to make my own version, and after finishing it, I will ask ChatGPT for better versions. For my version, I will try to keep all the basic gameplay that we saw in the ChatGPT version, but obviously I will make my code from scratch, changing several things and doing them my way. I started by declaring a structure with two integer values, one called x and another called y. This will be very useful for establishing coordinates, in addition to a goToXY function, which allows me to move the cursor to a certain position and thus try to reduce the flickering of the game. Then I continued making the frame of the game, taking as reference two coordinates, one for the upper left corner and another for the lower right corner. I will draw this frame only once when starting the game, since I want to avoid drawing in each frame things that they are static, apart from using other symbols to make the frame look better. After that, I started making the snake and its movement. For the body of the snake, I decided not to use a two-dimensional array of integer type. Instead, I preferred to use a one-dimensional array of the structure I created earlier. In addition to creating an enumerator with the possible directions the snake can go, directions that obviously change depending on the keys the user presses. With the movement done, I made the apple. Well, I think it is an apple. So to represent it, I use this Latin capital letter O with a cute, which I think it represents better the idea of an apple that appears randomly. I continued adding collision with the apple, making the snake grow when it eats the apple, and also adding the collision of the snake with the frame, and the collision of the snake with the snake itself. Finally, for the basic version I added a score counter and a time counter. Having already done the classic gameplay, why not improve it? So I decided to add a separation between the main menu, the game and the game over screen, and to do that I created another enumerator to control the flow of the program depending on the state. And to improve it even more, I added difficulty levels, easy, medium and hard. So again, I decided to use another enumerator to control these difficulty levels. And what do these difficulty levels consist of? Well, essentially and mainly what changes is the speed of the snake. But for the easy difficulty, I added a detail from ChatGPT version, which is not to die when colliding with the frame, but to appear on the other side of the frame. and here you can see my final version. Now that we have seen my version, what I will do is ask ChatGPT for better versions. The first improvement I will ask for is to program a version that no longer flickers. With the generated code I will copy, paste and execute it. And we could well say that it has done very well. It no longer flicks and therefore it no longer looks so bad. We could say that it has surpassed this level. For the next version, I will ask the chat to add the separation by screen of menu, game, and game over. With the code already here, I will copy it, paste it, and execute it. And what is happening? Why doesn't console show anything? Well, I will mention to the chat what is happening, and I will ask for the code again, so I will run the new code. And why is the same thing happening? Isn't it supposed to correct the error? To be honest with you, I wouldn't like to review this code line by line, but I will try it. So, after less than a minute of review, I commented on this line that clears the screen, and now we can now see the game is running, but now there is another error. When returning to the main menu screen after having lost, obviously because I commented the line that clears the screen, now the game over message continues without deleting. We could say that we cannot consider this version approved. Finally, I will ask for a last version with the difficulty levels. Well, I already have the code. I will run it, and well, I could say that this last version passed successfully again, since it did not have the same error that it had previously. And what is the conclusion of this? Well, I think that first I should have used a better example to do this challenge, since as we could see the most fatal error that ChatGPT gave us was the one in the third version, since a fairly inexperienced programmer would have to review the code, and I don't know if that person would be able to find the error and correct it, as someone who knows what they are doing would do it. But well, if in something that we could say easy to do, well, we had a bug, what awaits us with programs that involve greater difficulty? Could we have more unforeseen errors? Could someone without experience and without knowing the minimum necessary correct the error? I think the best thing could be to use these tools as ChatGPT for small or simple and repetitive things that we already know how to do, and therefore things that we could solve in case we encounter errors. I also recommend knowing the minimum of the programs you're going to use and knowing what things they offer, what tools we have available and what they do. And of course you have to read the documentation. A few months ago I had some problems when I was learning about the Django web framework. I had a problem that ChatGPT couldn't fix either. So I went to the Django documentation and had to read a few things, and that's how I was able to solve that problem. A serious mistake that we make with these tools is the fact that many people are not seeing them as tools, but as the program that does things for you when you don't know anything. I am pretty aware that there are many people who are not really interested in knowing how to do things, but what about the gratification of learning something new and being able to master it? And the gratification of knowing that you are capable of doing things? So if we are not the ones who have the knowledge and we do not have anything to contribute, if our ability to do something is so mediocre that it can be easily emulated by an artificial intelligence, should we worry about being replaced or have we already been?